Pans and Pioneers. Today I'm going to be making a southern version of shake and bake. So I like to keep good mixes to do alternatives to fried chicken or veal, or even great mixes to put into meatloaf or to use to bake fish. And this is my overall. You can use this for any kind of meat you want. I've not tried to crust salmon with it yet, but I wouldn't, only just because there's not the correct ingredients in here, I think, to make salmon really bring out the flavor of salmon. So I'm going to give you my southern recipe for shake and bake. I used to love shake and bake as a child, and who knows what they put in it now. I have no idea, but this is just my version of it. So in this bowl right here, I've got a cup of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of cornstarch, 2 teaspoons of paprika, 2 teaspoons of onion powder, and I didn't have onion powder, but I do have dehydrated onions, and I'm going to mill this in the food processor, so it's going to turn to real powder. So I'll have that powder. 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of sugar, and I'm using pure cane sugar, and 3.5 teaspoons of poultry seasoning. And I make my own, but you can buy poultry seasoning in the grocery store. 2 teaspoons of dry parsley, which I get mine out of my garden, and 2 cups of dried breadcrumbs, which I have right here. And this, what I do is making homemade bread a lot, or buying organic bread at the store. I save the heels that no one wants to eat, and I continue to drop them in a Ziploc bag in my freezer, and I freeze them, and then when I get enough, I pop them in the food processor and I make breadcrumbs, and that's what I use to do all of my seasonings for baking and that kind of thing. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to drop these into the food processor. The camera. I'm going to pour in my breadcrumbs. Everybody in the pool. All right. And then I'm going to drop everything from here into the food processor too. Okay, we're going to pop the lid on. Everybody in the pool. You don't want to go in. So we're just going to, I'm going to pulse this, and then I'm going to put it on a low for a few seconds, and it'll pulverize everything together. And we'll do, this isn't very loud, so if it's too loud, just mute your video. Okay, so there you have it. And what I do at this point is I just kind of loosen it up. And then right before you use it, in order to really make it, go on well onto your meats, the reason I don't add the oil at this point, because it's going to get gummed up, and it doesn't always store the best, because the oil actually, the seasoning actually absorbs in the oil, makes it kind of clumpy. I like to store it in the freezer like this, and then if I want to do a meatloaf or something like that, I add maybe a half a cup to a meatloaf, just to ground beef or ground buffalo or however you make your meatloaf, and this makes a wonderful seasoning for meatloaf. You don't need to add salt or pepper or anything like that. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I added 2 teaspoons of Creole seasoning to this as well, which wasn't on my list here, but I add Creole seasoning to everything just because I grew up with it, since my mother is from Louisiana. So anyway, I'm gonna put this in a Ziploc bag and store it in the freezer, but I use it for a lot of different types of baking and meatloaves and that type of thing. I hope you enjoyed this recipe, and I hope you'll try this Southern style shake and bake and at least give it a try. And tell me what you think. Give me a thumbs up, leave a comment below. I'm very responsive to everybody that leaves comments, and most everybody typically shoots me an email, but you can always leave a comment, and I'm happy to talk to y'all there. So I hope you enjoy this video. Everybody have a blessed day.